I love to hunt. Hunting people was just, there's nothing like it. So one time I had a guy I was looking for, and I knew he ran heavy equipment. I knew the company he worked for, but it ain't like you could just call over there during the day and say, hey, I need Bob. When's Bob going to be there? Because Bob's out working on a job site.
Yeah.
And if you call, they know something's up. And if they tell him somebody called for you, people know when they have a warrant. I basically called up and said, hey, I hear y'all are hiring. He goes, yeah. And I said, okay. He goes, what can you run? I said, man, I can run a bulldozer. I can run a pan. I can run, skid steer. I can run anything you want. Excavator. I can do it all. He's like, really? I need somebody like you. I said, okay. What do? I need a job. He goes, well, I've got 2 job sites right now. That's all I got going on. He goes, you can go to either one and talk to my foreman, and you can try out. If you can run that equipment, I'll hire you tomorrow. I said, great. So he told me where the 2 job sites were. The first one I went to, there was the guy's Ford Taurus sitting there I was looking for. So then I just went straight up to the foreman and went, hey, man, I didn't even tell him I was the guy about the job. I just said, hey, I need to see Bob. Well, he's down there on that piece of equipment. I said, okay. So they called him on the radio, and the guy comes up, jumps off the equipment, and is like, what's up? We're standing there in plain clothes like, you're going to jail, buddy. We were looking for him, and I finally figured out he was dating this girl who was a stripper. We had went up on one weekend, like 3 or 4 guys, and we go into the strip club. So we're in there waiting around the strip club, and we're like looking for her and looking for him, and we never did find him and stuff. We got talking to the bouncer, and they're like, oh, yeah, I've seen him before. His girlfriend does work here. She's off tonight, and don't know where she lives. All I know is they said she don't live too far from here. She just has got an apartment. So that told me, okay, they just had got an apartment. Well, he was posting on social media, and he was posting pictures of like him standing in front of the pool, like, look at me, I'm a big shot, I got a pool, and I got this pit bull and stuff. Well, then he tried to say he was in Alabama. So we thought, well, maybe he did run to Alabama. So I called a guy I knew in Alabama, and I'm like, if he's in Alabama, he's at Grandma's, can you go over there and check it out? So he went over there, and he says, he's not at Grandma's.
All right.
Well, the very next morning, the guy posted a picture of the pit bull sitting on a bed. Well, the pillows on the bed matched some photos from his girlfriend's Facebook page. Like, he's with her. So then we started looking, trying to figure out what apartment complex he's in Atlanta. There's so many apartment complexes in Norcross where he was. I'm steadily rolling through pictures, and I'm like, okay, he's got a dog. He's at a pool. So I start looking up apartments who are pet friendly, where you can have pets and have a pool. And once I narrowed those down out of the list of however many there were, I narrowed it down to so many, and I'm writing it all down, and I'm figuring it out. I was going back through the pictures, and I said, look at the pool tile. Look at the chairs at the pool. So I start looking at the different apartment complexes, their online brochures, and looking at their pools.
Right.
I found the apartment complex picture of the pool that had the same exact pool tile. Tracked down the pool tiles, and finally I kept looking through the different brochures, and I'm like, it's this apartment complex. This is the only one that's pet friendly, has a pool, has these same pool tiles in the chair. And the pool tiles I'm talking about were like second layer inside the pool. So like the picture was just good enough where I could see inside the pool. That's what gave it away. So I knew the apartment complex. So we decided I was going to take a day off work, my buddy and me. And so I took off work. We went up there on a Friday, and we pulled in this apartment complex. And I'm in the office. I walk in the office, and I'm like, hey, look, got this guy I'm looking for. I got a warrant for him. I said, I know he's in this apartment. I said, I want y'all to open the door for him. I want y'all to verify that, if it's in his name or his girlfriend's. I didn't tell them I didn't know which apartment it was. I was trying to bullshit them. So I'm like, I know he's in here. Y'all can save yourself a door because I'm fixing to kick it in. So she's like, oh my God, let me look it up. So she starts going through stuff, and my phone rings. That's my buddy in the parking lot. I'm like, what's up? He goes, man, he just walked outside. I said, what? He goes, yeah, he's outside. So I tell her, hold on a minute. So I'll go outside, and I'm like, what's up? He goes, man, he's outside. He's walking that dog. It's a puppy.
Oh, cool.
So no big deal. So my buddy went around one side, I went around the other, and we got the guy. He had no clue, and he's like, how the hell did y'all find me and all this stuff? I made like $2,700 and maybe 6 other hours in him. Other than that, I love to hunt. Hunting people was just, there's nothing like it. We went to a house one time, we got up to the driveway, and we heard a generator running. We're like, they're running on a generator. Like, they don't have any power. So we're like, okay. So we send 2 guys up to knock on the front door, and they go knock on the front door, and nobody comes to the door. We do this 2 or 3 times, and can't get anything. We're like, well, maybe they're not home. There's no cars or nothing. We had the right address on the warrant. So finally, about the 3rd time, we're out there, and me and another guy, he's like, I'll fix this. He just reaches down and goes, flip, and flips the generator off. Well, we didn't have any idea 2 of our guys had made it inside at this time. We just killed all the power, so now they're standing in there in the dark with the dope tweakers and, trying to figure out what's going on, And the guy we were looking for, we were looking for a girl, actually. We couldn't find her in there. They kept hiding her different places, and we finally, found the brother. Well, we knew the brother was wanted, but, we can't do anything. If you've got drugs or whatever, we're not police. We tell them, get rid of your drugs, whatever. We're not trying to get you no extra charges. And we couldn't do anything to this guy. Well, we had went and talked to Walton County and said, hey, we basically told them, hey, look, this guy's up here, and we know he's hiding his sister, and we think if y'all get him out of the way. And they go, well, we can't go to the house. Our warrant's not on that address for him. We have to have a reason to be there. You can't just call up and say, hey, this guy's over here at this house and he has a warrant. They're not going to go get him. They have to have a reason to be at that house if that address isn't on the warrant in Georgia. So
did you fire off your weapon in the backyard and say someone's shooting over here?
Well, they ended up telling us, they said, all right, look, we're going to stage down the road and y'all go over there. And by law, when we go to an address, we have to call it in and be like, hey, I'm going to, Nicholsville Road. I'm going to be at this address. And, this is what we're doing. This is who we're looking for. So they already knew we were there. So they told us, they said, when you get there, if they give you any problems, they said, just give us a call. He goes, that'll be a domestic disturbance and we'll be right out. So, we gave them a call and said, hey, we're here looking for our girl. This is going on. And they showed right up. And, of course, they arrested Mr. Val and took him out of there. And it was funny. We laughed for years about it because he was wearing some pink Hello Kitty socks pulled up to his knees.
I get a case out in the Everglades next to a canal. There's a crashed airplane. 300 yards north of the airplane is a body. And the body is partially headless. The head's been obliterated. It's gone. There's just a stump sticking up. Body's decomposed probably 2 or 3 days, and we figured that maybe the head, maybe the gator's got his head. We didn't know. He had a belt buckle that said Pratt Whitney Aircraft, and they make airplane engines.
Yeah.
So we figured the guy was either a pilot or had something to do with the airplane itself. We're looking at the body, and he's got a spray can of off, Deepwood's off, and some cigarettes, and we figured maybe he's out here as an offloader, helping bring the plane in, waiting for the plane to come in.
Right.
Who knows? So we're getting all this information on him. He's got no ID on him. The back of his head where the neck is looks like red hairs. And then we check the pubic hairs, they're red. So he's a redhead. We know that much.
He's a ginger.
He's a ginger, as they call him. And so we had an FAA investigator, because they come out on all these things too. So this FAA guy says, hey, I know of a redheaded pilot that's a smuggler named Danny O'Neill. And so, okay, fine. So we tracked down Danny O'Neill. He's alive and well. So it's not Danny O'Neill. We did talk to him anyway.
Right.
Went and interviewed him. So we made some flyers, and we put a picture of the belt buckle on there and a description of this guy. And we posted it at Tamiami Airport and several other airfields around, and places where, pilots and airplane mechanics and people like that might go. And one day I get a call from this man. I think this is my son. I haven't heard from him in a while. He usually calls me every week. We get together. Haven't heard from him in a long time. He's an airplane mechanic, and he's a redhead. And I said, what's his name? And he tells me his name. It was an old high school friend of mine.
Really?
Yeah. So we used to go out together and hang out. We used to go plinking together with our guns. We used to go, 3 or 4 of us used to go out and shoot and have barbecues and just do that kind of stuff. And so that was a little bit of a shocker. And so I eventually, uncovered who was involved. And he was the guy. He was actually trained by the U.S. Army to set up clandestine airstrips. So he did that in the Army, got out, and joined his buddies from high school. They all went to the same high school,
right?
And joined this little smuggling group. And he was getting paid $10,000 a landing to help them land the plane and offload and that. So we ended up.
So how did he die?
So that was still mysterious. From the evidence on the scene, it looked like the airplane didn't negotiate the road that well. And that could have been weather, and it also could be because there was kind of a gradual right turn to this thing. And for whatever reason, they went off the beaten road, the main road. One of the wings hit a small tree, and the plane spun around 180 degrees. I think during that whole thing, the victim tried to get out of the way and didn't. I think he got hit by the wing.